Hello there, this is Luke from My Future Self. Welcome back. This is video 3 in Strength Week. There's one more to come and that should be out either tomorrow or on Tuesday. So it's kind of gone over a week and a bit, but who's counting? So in my last video, I touched on the physiological and the psychological benefits and the philosophical benefits of why we should maintain our lean muscle mass. And just a reminder, these videos are primarily targeted at the 40-plus-year-old human out there who hasn't done, has stopped, and needs to improve their lean muscle mass moving into the back nine of their lives. So one of the biggest challenges I've always had with clients over the many, many years is that they continue to maintain their existing lifestyle, but they engage me or another trainer to train them to get them fitter and stronger. But in doing so, by maintaining their current environment and their current living and working environment and their current living and social engagements and their current habits and lifestyle choices, their health and wellness and strength goals tend to fall by the wayside because they haven't dedicated and haven't allocated the resources to make sure that this new objective, A, remains on target, and B, becomes a long-term habit. So behind me, you see I've got the obligatory social media expert whiteboard. And here I'm going to try and create a little bit of a recipe, a formula, a routine that we need to, or not need to, but it'll help when we try to identify and try and stay on the path of whatever objective that we're trying to achieve. Now you can apply this routine, this ritual, this narrative to whatever goal that you're trying to achieve. You can apply this to whatever positive stress testing that you are trying to achieve. Because if we don't have a structure behind what we're doing, if we don't have the right intention, we won't be able to give the right attention, and then we won't be able to apply the right intention or exertion to our desired outcome. Now, when I talk about lifestyle habits, I'm talking about our work environment, I'm talking about our home environment, I'm talking about our social environment. The commitments, the lifestyle routines that make up who we are and what we do through our day-to-day. Now, if you're in your 40s, your 50s and 60s, you have got decades of behavior, belief systems, the way you've been doing things, and they make up your homeostatic state. A lot of these things are going to be contrary to our health. And this is where we can fall down when we try and enact new, healthier, betterment changes to our lifestyle. Because it requires a two-pronged approach. We need to identify and act upon what we want to try and achieve and where we want to try and improve and improve our health. At the same time, we need to look, seek, identify, and begin to relinquish, cut back, or eliminate the things, the activities, the thinking and doing behaviors that are keeping us fat, sick, tired, unwell, and unmotivated. And just to touch on those, the big critical things that are going to do that to us is our reliance on alcohol and drugs. It's going to be our inability to maintain and manage our sleep, poor nutrition, and stress. Those things are going to continually maintain your feedback loop. You'll be in a negative feedback loop that's going to be constantly fed by those choices and those lifestyle demands. And it's there that we need to focus on improving those at the same time at trying to address our desired betterment outcomes. So that's the lifestyle aspect touched on, and that's why it's very important that if you are going to make lifestyle betterment changes to your world, you need to be cognizant and be able to audit and address the parts of your life, like I said, that are making you fat, tired, sick, unmotivated, blah, 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 blah. So if we don't fix those, we're going to constantly be a slave to the past and be a slave to those impulses and compulsions. Our brain feeds our habits and our habits feed our brain. So they can either work very positively for you or they can work very negatively for you. And it's here where we look at our food, our sleep, our stress, and our strength training and our active meditations, where we start applying circuit breakers to our chaotic life to try and slow down the negative feedback loop put the brakes on and then slowly put the wheel back in forward motion so our lifestyle habit is encouraging health, well-being, vitality, virility, and enjoy for life. That's what it's all about. So just to quickly go through, I guess, my little recipe board here. We've got 3 circles and they're all reliant on each other. One failure to do one will see failure to do the other 2 and vice versa. So before we start any new objective in terms of we want to improve our health, our strength, we want to improve any habits, we want to become more mindful, we want to improve our diet, whatever it may be, we need to work on our pretension, which isn't, I'm not talking about being pretentious, I'm talking about our aspiration. What is your aspiration? So we need to find out and identify and audit ourselves and find out what it is I want. Critical to this is to find out what that is going to cost you. Now, I don't necessarily mean financially, and that does come to play, but when I talk about what it's going to cost, I'm talking about primarily time. Have you got the time to commit regularly to your new set outcome or desired outcome? The precious resource of time never gets properly applied when we want to make betterment choices. I see it with so many individuals, they basically just load on more activity onto their stressful lives and wonder why they're coming to training fatigued, tired, disengaged, and not getting any of the benefits of their training because they're unable to, both because they're physically tired and psychologically tired, to engage properly in their activities. So we need to work on time. Like I touched on before, we need to touch on our current lifestyle activities. What are impinging, or what will impinge, or what could impinge on my ability to be able to follow through with my aspiration? Because if we have a lifestyle that's contrary to our aspirations, then it's going to fall by the wayside. And that's where we start getting annoyed with ourselves, frustrated, and that's when those lifestyle choices that we rely upon in our homeostasis, our overfeeding, our over-drinking, our over-alcohol, whatever it may be, we then rely back on those. And that's that negative feedback loop being fed once again. So work out what our intentions are, what your aspirations are, and get that firm in your head. Write that sucker down and make it a priority. The second thing here we're talking about is intention. And how do we remain and how do we maintain consistent focus on our aspirations? Because we need to make sure that our aspirations remain front and center, and we need to make sure our intentions remain front and center. Again, what's going to compromise our intention? It's all those things I said before. Too much food, too much alcohol, too much poor sleep, etc., etc., etc. So we also need to, aside from our lifestyle choices, we also need to be mindful of our time. Again, we need to allocate the right resource of time and space in our life to be able to do that. We also need to be working on purpose and realism. We talk about or hear about vision and passion being wicked ways to, relaunch your life trajectory. But I would argue that they are wonderful things for long-term goals, but if we want to initiate change now, we want to initiate action now, it requires purpose and it requires being realistic about what you want. And realism comes into practice in terms of what we choose, how much time we allocate, how much resources we allocate it, what can we actually feasibly do. We need to be realistic. Thirdly, kindness and patience come to the forefront here. We need to be kind to ourselves. And when I say kind, again, looking at the lifestyle habits that are contrary to your well-being. Being kind to yourself isn't necessarily an easy task. Being kind to yourself often relies on making the hard choices on the things that are causing you to be ill, tired, sick, frustrated, angry, etc., etc., etc. So we start shooting the choices that we have to make through a prism of kindness and saying, is this good for me? Is this the right best thing for me? We can then start chipping away and identifying better the things that aren't very good for us. And patience, if you're 40, 50, 60, you spent decades, honestly decades, creating this life that you have right now. Don't expect it to turn around overnight. It's going to take time. So we need to nurture patience and kindness. And that's why this area here needs to relate with our aspirations. They need to work in harmony. There's no good thinking that you're going to start training and have six-pack abs and be able to do 100 burpees in a couple of weeks when your intention is still compromised by your lifestyle choices. Be realistic, be purposeful, and be kind, and utmost, be patient with yourself. Patient is a great element of kindness. Thirdly, and I'll try and move this along, we're hitting the 10-minute mark here, is how do we apply the right amount of intention, meaning exertion, intention. To get it? Okay, so how do we apply the right exertion? Because if we don't apply exertion to our consistent focus, then we're not going to create the outcomes that we want. There's a thing in gym world called TUT, or time under tension. We need to load, we need to progressively load, we need to apply stress, positive stress, to our consistent focus and to our aspirations to see the goods materialize in our life. So how do we maintain that? And very quickly, plan. Don't approach your goals without any plans. It's what I affectionately call the 6 Ps, which means perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance. Plan. Secondly, start small and simple and make it scalable. Resist going for big picture stuff that will not be achievable. Start small. Start micro steps. Start, like James Clear says, atomic habits. Make them small, make them scalable, make them winnable. Celebrate those wins, and so that you can progressively, each day, each week, each month, take a bigger step, get more fulfillment from those small wins, and maintain that momentum. Humans get fulfillment from achieving and overcoming obstacles. Humans get despondent and fail and use self-sabotaging if they create big goals and they fail. And our human nature is to create big goals, especially when it comes to health and fitness, and then fail miserably, and then we retreat back to our homeostatic states. Do things that are stupidly simple. Make the steps easy peasy. Celebrate the wins. So if you're not doing any training at all, start with something about 4 minutes a day, and I'll talk about some strategies of that in my next video. So small, simple, easy, achievable, scalable, celebrate your wins. That is going to be your pathway to maintaining and developing and increasing the right amount of exertion with consistent focus on your aspiration. These 3 things need to work in harmony for us to be able to achieve whatever we want to do. And again, though this has been referred to in our health and fitness and our strength and lean muscle mass, this needs to be applied and can be applied to every aspect of any self-betterment program that you're trying to achieve. So we need to work on our aspirations, be clear with that, understand what that is, and keep that focus front and center. We need to work out how we can maintain consistent focus. And thirdly, we need to be able to apply and include the right amount of exertion, the right amount of intention. So these 3 things start working together. Just to touch on one more thing again, like I've repeated before, humans develop fulfillment in their life. They develop motivation and enthusiasm to continue by celebrating the small wins. Not the only way, but one of the best way forward to self-motivate yourself is that you do the work. So if we do incremental, small, scalable steps, and we win at those steps, we're going to nurture and manifest motivation and self-pride because we are succeeding at what we're doing. And as we succeed, we can then expand and scale up, and that gives us more motivation to continue the journey. And while we're doing that, if we can continually focus on addressing the lifestyle choices, the habits, the thinking and the doing things that we do in our lives, if we can start shooting those choices through the prism of self-kindness, the outcomes are unbelievable. Again, my future self is all about propagating calm in our lives. And the more things that we can do shot through a prism of self-kindness is only going to populate a calm, more resilient and healthier, happier physique, mind and outlook. So that's it for this week. So next week I'm going to be talking, or next video I should say, I'm going to be talking about what is the best type of strength training and I'll touch on a few habit techniques and a few strategies. And I guess, what are some of the foundational moves that we can do to, if you're starting out, to increase our lean muscle mass and our movement. And I just want to leave you one thing. You just got to remember, if you sleep well, continue to sleep well, if you eat well, if you drink plenty of water, you train and exercise, you are still going to die anyway. But knowing that is the best motivation, because none of it matters. What only matters is our time now. And if we can populate our minds with activities, breath, energy that encourages us to be living in this now, and we are calmer, happier, and we interconnect better, and we have a sense of joy about what we do, that's all that matters. Because all that other stuff, the cars, the house, the boat, the trips, that all belongs to death. It doesn't belong to us, and it's not around. But if we can interconnect with ourselves, our connection with the ones around us is going to be so much better. And that's what my future self is all about. That's what now being is all about. It's about pursuing time, about being here in the here and now. That's Luke. You'll hear from me again very soon. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to let me know. If you need any help with any of your strategies in terms of your food, your sleep, your exercise, your strength, anything like that at all, just like a chat, don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you. This is Luke. Over and out. Speak to you soon.